Welcome everybody to the All-Star MMA Pick Show. I am your host JHK, and I am joined by the fight analyst Garrett Kerman, as well as media personality Ben the Ben Davis. Today we'll talk UFC Vegas 66, discussing the fights from bottom to top, making our picks and predictions. Also, two segments at the end of the show. The first one will be best bets. We'll review Garrett's picks from last week's show and what's the best picks are for this weekend. That's for the gamblers, actually. Second segment will be an interview with a member of the Nevada State Athletic Commission. I will be cooking that person like a George Foreman grill. Throughout the show, we'll utilize the All-Star app and its picks option. This is an exclusive look. This option will go live on the app in 2023. You will be able to play against us, your friends, build communities, leagues, win contests and prizes, and a lot more. Look out for that. So go into the descriptions and download it now. It is the best app in the business. For all of you watching, give your picks for every fight throughout the show in the chat. Give your tidbits. We are all about freedom of speech, so comment away. Now, let's get into UFC Vegas 66. To kick off the event, we have a bantamweight matchup between Sergey Morozov and Journey Newsom. I'll pop on the app just one moment. Let's pop on this app on the screen. Here we go. Now, this is the app. Go download it right now, you guys. You guys can see what options you have. You have the betting lines, everything. So let's go into Morozov first. He is 33 years old, 2-2 record in the UFC. His two wins are against Rulian Paiva, not a bad win, and also Khalid Taha. On the other side, you got Journey Newsom at 33 years old, 1-2 in the UFC, one no contest for the Sticky Icky, coming off his first UFC victory against Fernie Garcia. If you look at the tail of the tape, you got both guys have MMA base. Morozov is 1 inch taller. He has actually a half-inch loss on reach. And if you look at significant strikes landed per minute, both guys are very similar. Significant strikes accuracy is on Morozov's side. Takedowns are on Morozov's side. Takedown accuracy is actually on Newsom's side. And submissions is more on Newsom. Garrett, give us your thoughts on this fight.
I think it's a good fight. 135 pounds. These guys come to scrap. Sergey Morozov, the dude just finds a way to win. He fights through adversity like it's nobody's business. I mean, he gets dropped, I think, on the regular. Gets dropped by Paiva, gets dropped by Silva de Andrade. Granted, he didn't win that one, but, he just finds a way to fight back into the fight. He did well. He overwhelmed Paiva in rounds 2 and 3 when he started to gas. Got Journey Newsom. He came off a good win against Fernie Garcia. Really showed his well-rounded skill set. We really haven't seen too much of his wrestling. He's, I believe, a jiu-jitsu black belt, so he's well-versed there, but really likes to strike and bang it out. And he just looked good everywhere. But I don't know if he can really the drawback on Morozov here, like I said, he gets hit a lot and he gets rocked a lot. Newsom does have the power to possibly stop Morozov here, but if he doesn't, Morozov probably has such a massive advantage in the grappling where he should be able to just keep him down there and for a long period of time. My only drawback here is he's minus 270 now, around there. And that's really, no, it's actually minus 280 up there. It's almost getting to minus 300. It's really steep of a price. So I got in on him a little earlier, minus 230 earlier in the week, but at this price, it's kind of hard to really not play the dog here on Newsom at plus 230. I don't know. It's tough.
It's steep. I'll echo that. It's definitely a steep line. I typically don't comment on people below 5'7", so this is a bit of foreign territory for me. But I got to talk about the first two Journey Newsom fights within the Ultimate Fighting Championship. I'm not impressed, all right? He got his teeth knocked into the bleachers by now cut Randy Costa and had a very uninspiring performance his last time out. I just don't see tools in the tool belt. And Sergey Morozov, his wins are all decisions. He gets to the scorecards and he does it convincingly. And he's only lost by sub, right? So I don't think Journey Newsom has the skills to sub him. So I'm going to go with Sergey Morozov. Why the fuck not?
So, Garrett, what is your pick? If you take out the money line, if you take out, the odds straight up, who are you taking in this fight?
Yeah, I have to go with Morozov here. If you're taking out money line, if you're just picks, you gotta go Morozov. Probably by decision. They'll just wear him down, grind him out for a nice, easy, unanimous decision.
Yeah, I have to agree with you on that. You know what I mean? So I'm gonna go in here. I'm gonna click on my picks, and right here, click Morozov. I'm taking Morozov without, no line. It's just straight up. I'm taking him. You know what I mean? It's pretty easy that he's could probably end up grinding it out, like you guys said. Let's move on to the next fight. David Dvorak versus Manel Kape. This is pretty trippy because they're on the prelims and both of them are top 15 flyweight. So let's get into Dvorak. He is 30 years old, 3-1 record in the UFC. He's coming off his first UFC loss against Matheus Nicolai. Manel Kape on the other side, he is 29 years old at 2-2 in the UFC, 2-fight win streak, both highlight reel knockouts. If you look at the tail of the tape, both guys are sitting at 5'5", below the height recommendation for the Bane. And both guys at a reach of 68 inches. Significant strikes, 3.87 for Dvorak and 4.69. So Kape is just more, he lands more per minute. Significant strike accuracy that goes on the Kape side, and the takedowns. It's very interesting. Kape has more takedowns than Dvorak, and takedown accuracy. So when you look at the tape, they have one common opponent, which is Matheus Nicolai, and both of them lost decisions, 3-round decisions to him. The fight analyst, what's good?
Man, I've been impressed with Manel Kape, even though he, kind of put up a stinker for like 3 rounds against Nicolai. I mean, 3 rounds between Nicolai and Pantoja combined. But, he's super explosive. You see what he's able to do in his last 2 fights with, first-round knockouts of Osborne and Zhumagulov. Dvorak is tough in his own right, but I'm not as, high on him as Manel Kape here. I think he's a future title contender. He's got the it factor, and take out those losses against Pantoja and Nicolau, because I feel like he gives them a much different fight if they fight again, much different, to the point where I think he could possibly beat both of them, and he arguably beat Nicolau in that fight. But as far as this fight goes, I got Kape all day in here. I think he runs away with it. I think he shows that he's a real true title contender. I mean, he's got the power in his hands. And also, this is the first southpaw that Dvorak is going to be facing, I believe, in his UFC career. So he has that little bit of an aspect that he has not yet seen. And now he's got to go against a southpaw that's got some serious power and knockout abilities. So Manel Kape seems like the right side. But as far as the line goes, I think it's at -240. I think that's about right. I could be even wider, to be honest with you.
Let's start simple. Manel Kape's going to fucking kill him. This is going to be a slaughter. It's within 1 round. A knee, an elbow, a sharp object will impact Double D's dome at some point in this one, and it's going to be curtains. Listen, Double D's hitting the dirty 30. I don't think that he's aged quite well. And Manel Kape, he's a star-powered individual. This is a guy who finishes fights. That's what we've known. He retired Zhalgas Zhumagulov, who is tough as cement. This guy's got a brick for a head, and I don't believe David Dvorak is going to be able to weather that storm. Now, again, I don't like talking about midgets. The first 2 fights on this fucking card are between very small individuals. That angers me. I want some taller fighters, but if I was going to have to pick, gun to my head, Manel Kape by KO in round number 1.
All right, so that was beautiful, beautifully explained. I have to agree with the Bane on that one. I think Dvorak, he's a solid fighter, all-around fighter, but I think that Kape is just too fast, just too explosive, and he finds way to finish fights. You know what I mean? So if I was going to bet on this fight, I would take Kape, even with the odds. And so I'm gonna make the pick right here on the app. Let me go down here. Boom, make the pick. Kape, there you go. Let's go to the next one. Next fight on the welterweight division, we have a matchup between Bryan Battle versus Rinat Fakh.
That's about as far as I got into that name. I started with Fakh and I stopped saying it.
So let's get into Bryan Battle first, man. We got Bryan Battle. He's the tough champion. I believe season 29, 28 years old, 3-0 in the UFC, 2 fights at middleweight, and his last fight was at welterweight. His debut at welterweight against Takashi Sato, 44-second knockout, head kick knockout. On the flip side, we got Fak, 31 years old, 1-0 in the UFC. He debuted against Andreas Nicoladias and got the win over him. If you look at some of the stats, some of the tell the tape, we have Bryan Battle. He's just so active, man. He's at 7.18 in significant strikes landed per minute, just doubling the output of Fak. And significant strike accuracy, Fak is much more accurate, man. 81%. That's an insane statistic, right? Like he must not. He just doesn't throw that much. So when he does throw, he lands a lot more. And he has a lot of takedowns. He's 50% accuracy on takedowns. Garrett, what do you see in this matchup, man?
Striker versus grappler, just right off the bat. I mean, Bryan Battle literally has to stay off the cage, stay at distance, use his kicks, utilize his reach, utilize his height advantage that he has. Or he's going to get taken down over and over and over again. I mean, Battle doesn't have great takedown defense to begin with. It's at 55%. He's gotten taken down by guys like Tresean Gore, who even had, it was like the sloppiest double leg takedown I might have ever seen. And then, Renat was just wrestling. I think he went to a decision in a wrestling match not too long ago. This guy is a legit wrestler. I think he's going to be able to take down Battle at will here. It's going to be whether or not he can keep him there. We'll see what happens, but I think, Renat's right now minus 145 on the money line. It's not a bad bet considering he's got such a massive advantage and the biggest weakness of Battle. And I think he could keep it close on the feet. Not like he's going to run away with it. And being this fight is not in a 30-foot octagon, make these matters a lot worse for Bryan Battle.
I like Cinderella stories. I have my own pair of glass slippers. They don't fit that well. But Bryan Battle represents what is a modern day Cinderella story. The last pick on The Ultimate Fighter goes to win the show and is now 3-0 within the octagon. That's impressive. That deserves a lot of commendation, but I do believe it all stops with Renat Fakhmandu. We heard about the wrestling chops that the Russian sniper brings into the octagon, and I think it's going to be enough to be the undoing of Battle's undefeated streak within the Ultimate Fighting Championship. I just don't see, historically, striker versus grappler doesn't go in the striker's way, right? Unless you're Ben Askren and you get kneed within 5 seconds, typically the grappler is going to prevail.
Yeah, when Bryan Battle has fought at middleweight and he's cutting down to welterweight, he's depleting himself, right? And in the first fight, he didn't have to go past 44 seconds. I would be very interested to see what would have happened in that fight if it went to the second or third round, especially with how much weight he had to lose. But in this one, man, stylistically, I just don't like it for Bryan Battle. I like Bryan Battle. Bryan Battle is an awesome dude, man. If you ever talk to him, very cool, man. Very chill. You would never expect him to be a fighter just the way he is. He looks like he's stoned all the time. He's just like, yeah, man. He's like a surfer, but he never surfed, right? He just acts like it. And but you can't pick the guys that you like. If you pick the guys that you liked all the time, you would win nothing in life, right? So I'm going to take Renat in this fight, man, just because I just feel like this guy is just gonna grind him out, and he's a grinder. And when you got a grinder versus a striker, you usually want to go with the grinder, right? The guy that could cut the corners, like contain the guy that's the striker that likes to move around a lot. And I'm gonna take Fak. I'm gonna take him. All right, so let's go to the next fight in this card. We got a lightweight matchup between Maheshate versus Rafa Garcia. Now, Maheshate, he's 23 years old, man. He's a young buck out of China. He's 1-0 in the UFC. He debuted at UFC in Singapore earlier this year. Got the first round knockout over Steve Garcia. Rafa Garcia, he is 28 years old with a 2-3 record in the UFC. Wins over Jesse Ronson and Natan Levy. Natan Levy is a pretty decent win right there. If you look at the tail of the tape and look at the significant strikes, both of them are very similar. You got Machete at 3.45 per minute and 3.264 for Garcia. The accuracy is on Garcia's side, and the takedowns are on Garcia's side. There's not much tape on Machete to look at because the fight that he had with Steve Garcia was so fast. But he's facing another Garcia, man. What do you think, Garrett, on this one?
You know, these are guys I really don't want to bet on per se. You know, you have a guy that's only going to be second fight in the UFC, and then you have Rafa Garcia, somebody that I always tend to want to fade. I don't know what it is. I just don't like his game. I just don't. He's not a great striker. He's good at grinding out wins, winning close fights, boring fights. Machete, there's a ton of unknowns. We don't know how his takedown defense is. We don't know how his defensive grappling is. There's a lot is going to be said here, a lot. So I'm sorry. You know, so it's going to be down to who can, you know, game plan the best here, who can be at their strengths. Garcia is going to come and look to get this fight to the mat. Machete is going to come down there and try to, you know, knock his block off. But Garcia has never been finished. All three of his losses are unanimous decision. So I would have to side with Garcia here. I think he's got the more experience. He's been in there with tougher competition than Machete, more dangerous strikers as well. He didn't get knocked out by Jakar Close. I don't think he's going to get knocked out here. The grind, like you said, the grinder versus the striker. Got to go with the grinder here.
You know, I have a Grinder account, and one of the big sentiments towards this fight is, yes, indeed, you want to always go with the more experienced gentlemen. They bring a lot more tools into the octagon. They just have wisdom that at 23 years young, you don't simply possess. That's earned through wars, blood, sweat, and tears inside regulated fighting. And while Machete might have 6 inches in height, he only notches 1.5 inches in reach. So you've got the silverback gorilla in Rafa Garcia. I want to go with him, right? Fading the youngster, that's a narrative that you hear all the time, and I think it applies in this one. Now, the matchmaking, peculiar, right? How many more Garcias are in the UFC's lightweight division that we can put this kid up against? Can we be done after 2? Can we be done?
I don't think so. I think he could fight all the Garcias in every weight class. Why not? He's 23 years old. He probably could cut the weight. I don't know.
Send him to featherweight. Send him to flyweight.
There's a few Garcias.
Heavyweight.
There's a few Garcias out there. You know what I mean? The Garcia, I saw on Twitter, the Garcia Hunter. That could be his new nickname. We'll find out in this fight. But yeah, I'm going to have to agree with you guys on this one. I think a striker that is unproven, you know what I mean? He went in there, of course, he got the knockout, but it's just, we didn't see enough from him, man. He's just too young. He's inexperienced, and Garcia's went through the wars. I think I'm going to have to take Garcia in this one, man. He is just more proven, but looks like the people that have picked already on the app are picking Machete. Maybe there's some Asian favoritism right there. I have no idea. Let's move on to the next fight in the bantamweight division. We have Said Nurmagomedov, who's sitting at number 15 in the bantamweight division, versus Said Yakub Kakmaranamov. If you look at Said, man, he has been very impressive in his run with the UFC. 30 years old, 5-1 in the UFC, 3 straight wins right now. Finishes over Cody Stamann and Ricardo Ramos. On the flip side, you got Said Yakub with 2-0. He's 2-0 in the UFC, and 27 years young, wins over Trevin Jones, which was on extremely short notice, and Ronnie Lawrence. Ronnie Lawrence, that was a very impressive win. If you look at the tail of the tape, both guys are very similar in height. If you look at the significant strikes landed per minute, it favors Nurmagomedov, but the accuracy favors. Sorry. My bad. Nurmagomedov. The accuracy actually favors Kakmaranamov, and takedowns is on Said Yakub's side as well. The submission attempts, you know what I mean, that's also on Said Yakub's side. So, Garrett, who do you see in this one, man? Let us know.
Oh man, it's a good fight. It's arguably my second favorite fight of the entire card. It's extremely close.
Sorry to cut you off.
Yeah.
You know, we have a clip. We have a clip coming in from my interview with Said Yakub. Let's play that clip, get some information, you know, to the people that are watching. Here we go.
can't wait to see the third one, man. I think the third one's gonna show it. I'm telling you, third one's gonna show. The first one was kind of maybe wasn't like something short. It was like I had no time to prepare for it mentally. It was just something short notice. Boom, get the fight in, and then after the Ronnie Lawrence fight was just pure domination. He had nothing against me. 11 takedowns, 12 minutes of ground control. You know what I mean? His face was beat up. I mean, he had no any dangers against me. You know what I mean? But I can't wait for the third one. I feel like this is gonna be even better. You know, I think this is gonna be one of the best performance of my life. That's how I look at it.
What do you see, Garrett?
That's interesting. I see a lot of love for Kakramanov. I mean, and rightfully so. He's looked really good against, stiff competition. But man, this is a pretty huge step up from Ronnie Lawrence and Trevin Jones to Said Nurmagomedov. And this line is a pick'em. They're basically saying Kakramanov is going to go in there and absolutely manhandle Nurmagomedov on the mat because that's his path to victory. He's not going to stand there and win a striking battle. It's just not going to happen. So everybody's thinking that Kakramanov is just going to absolutely dominate in the grappling, just like he did Ronnie Lawrence. And I just can't fathom that happening. I think Nurmagomedov's defensive grappling is a lot better than people are giving him credit for. And he's really good on feet. He's gonna land at will at distance, especially with those kicks, those spinning attacks. So he can't just always come forward like he did against Ronnie Lawrence. He's gonna have to, find a way to get inside and take this to the mat. And he's dangerous. And look what Cody Stamann tried to do. He tried to take him down, and then he got his neck snatched up. Said, he's got problems everywhere. He can beat you on the mat. He can win in the stand-up. He's dangerous. And I think Kakramanov is maybe underestimating him a little bit. And I think this is going to be just a little bit too big of a step up. He's only 10-2 in his career. Nurmagomedov 16-2, and he's fought Rony Barcelos, who I think is just a bit better than Kakramanov is right now in his career. So yeah, I think Nurmagomedov gets it done. I think a lot of people are going to be surprised in the performance by Nurmagomedov, and I think everybody's going to be a little bit upset that Kakramanov doesn't go in there and get the job done and look like the next title contender.
Gotta think the biggest thing about this fight is how it is quite literally just a tongue twister. I mean, say the name of this matchup 3 times fast. You won't be able to. I'm not sure what the fuck this is, by the way. I've been looking at it. I've been trying to adjust my settings. We're going to have to deal with it. Much like how Saidyokub Kakramanov is going to have to deal with Said Nurmagomedov on Saturday night. And I don't think he's going to be able to. Like all the things that have been mentioned, the experience, the defensive grappling. This is a Nurmagomedov. And while it's an inverse of what we typically see, right, Said being more of a striker per se, I do believe that he's going to be able to nullify and shut down any of the grappling that Saidyokub wants to get going. I like Saidyokub. He's a very nice guy, but I do think that the adversity is going to get to him a little bit. And I'm going to go with Nurmagomedov inside the distance. I'm not sure if it's going to be a submission or a KO, but I don't think Kakramanov gets out of this one unscathed.
Man, this is a tough one, man. You got Said Nurmagomedov, who carries that name, and he's a killer, man. He's a killer. He's experienced. He's fought some good competition. And then you got Saidyokub, who has just extreme potential, and he's come in with way less experience and taken out a guy like Ronnie Lawrence. I think that this is the perfect step up in competition. I like the confidence in Saidyokub. I'm going to pick Saidyokub in this fight. I'm going to go out on a limb. And yeah, man, I think he's gonna do it, man. I know everybody's gonna pick against him, but I'm gonna pick for him. I like the guy. I like him. I like the energy. I like the cockiness. I love it. Now let's move on to the next. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just saying you need that kind of confidence. I like that in him too. That's why I think he's gonna go far. I just think, a little bit too big of a step up from who he's been facing. But we'll see. We'll see what he's made of against someone within the name of Nurmagomedov. You know what I mean?
For sure. Now moving on to the next fight on the prelims, we got a middleweight matchup between Julian Marquez and Deron Winn. Marquez, he is 32 years old, 3-2 in the UFC. He has cross-trained out of Glory MMA. Take that as what you want. And he has wins over Darren Stewart and Maki Patoli. On the other side, you have Deron Winn, 33 years old, 2-3 in the UFC with wins over Antonio Arroyo and Eric Spicely. This is a unique matchup. Both guys are kind of like middling in that division. What do you see, Garrett, in this one?
Man, it's I really don't want to bet on any glory MMA guys. I'm just throwing that out there. I really don't know. Like who is he training at Extreme Couture now? Is that he's in Vegas for this fight? I mean, I don't even know where he's training at. I don't know who's going to be in his corner. We really don't know where his head is at, where he's been training for the most part. At least I don't. Because I've been kind of left in the dark there. But Deron Winn, definitely underwhelming. He's a midget. You know, he's 5'6". I don't know why he's fighting at 185 pounds. Maybe he needs to get on a good diet, you know, get that weight down. Because I mean, this guy at 185, he's literally the dude's shorter than me, and I weigh like a lot less than him. I mean, let's be honest here. He should be fighting at 185. The height and reach discrepancy has been terrible for him his entire career. But the thing is with this, he's only got 2 inches of reach less than Marquez, which is kind of crazy considering he's got over like 8 inches of height on him. So, and then also you got to look back into the styles, right? Marquez, he's a dynamic finisher. He can snatch your neck when in transitions on the mat. He's a knockout artist on the feet. Deron Winn can potentially take him down, but if he takes him down and tries to grind him out, what does Deron Winn do towards the end of the fights? He gets tired. But that's if Marquez could get the fuck back up. I don't know if he's going to be able to do that here. I think Deron Winn could possibly be a wet blanket. I see a lot of people betting Marquez in this spot. I think I'm going to go on a limb here and bet the midget at plus money.
You know, I think the historical track record of mini fridges inside the UFC's octagon is a bit spotty. I mean, they don't typically win as much as you'd want, especially if you're shopping at some place like Target. But in this matchup, right, the Olympic level wrestling of Deron Winn, I just don't think it's going to be enough because Julian Marquez, as mentioned, dynamic finisher. I mean, he has weapons at every inch on his body, and the size. I don't know. And the other thing that we have to mention is Deron Winn's coming off of a horrendous loss to Phil Hawes. I mean, Hawes, who isn't exactly a superstar in his own right, damaged Deron Winn more than we've ever seen him inside his career. So what version of the mini fridge are we going to be getting? Is it the durable one that we've seen before? Or is it a battle-tested one that gets clipped and gets dropped and gets finished? My money's on Julian Marquez. I think that the Cuban Missile Crisis is going to pronounce himself once again inside the octagon, and maybe we'll get a fun call-out. I don't know who's next, gang, but I'd like to see maybe a Taylor Swift, a Barack Obama call-out. I just want to know what's bouncing around inside Julian Marquez's mind.
Who's the porn star that he does the podcast with?
Kendra Lust.
Maybe he calls her
Did
out.
I say that too quick?
Maybe.
Would you like to know how many episodes they've done?
Well, hey, it is each to their own, right? Let's there's a huge height discrepancy in this fight. But the reach is not that different. You know what I mean? There's only a 2-inch reach difference. I'm going out on a limb here. I'm going to agree with the fight analyst. I'm going to take Deron Winn.
You guys are
fight.
fucking stupid. You guys are stupid.
Deron
Winn. Deron Winn.
His name is Win. His name is Win.
All he knows how to do is win. All he does is win.
Exactly, right? I don't think Marquez is going to be able to knock him out. I feel like you're only going to be able to win against Win if you can knock him out like Phil Hawes did.
Well, this is going to be
able to knock him out.
This is going to be Arroyo all over again. Everybody thought that Arroyo was like minus 300 in this spot. He's definitely a better striker than Marquez. I mean, in terms of technical abilities. And then his ass was just on the mat for the entire fight. I feel like same shit, different story. Coconut bombs. Maki Patolo was dominating him on the mat, might I add, who is a terrible grappler in his own right. So I can't fathom why Winn can't do the same.
There you go. Let's move on to the next fight. A welterweight clash between Jake Matthews and Matthew Smesselberger. Hey, I am terrible.
Fuck that one up. That was bad. Smesselberger?
Yeah,
sounds like it's from a Diary of a Wimpy Kid book.
It sounds like a burger.
Timmy Smelselberger.
Yes, like one thing you guys will notice as the show goes that I am terrible with names. I could go listen to that name pronounced properly 15 times and I'll still fuck it up. But anyways, Matthews, he's sitting at 28 years old. But man, he's 11-5 in the UFC. He's been around forever, and he's only 28 years old. It just shows you the type of experience that he has at such a young age. He's won his last 4 out of 5. He has wins over Andre Fiallo, Emil Meck, and Jing Liang Li. On the flip side, you have Matthew Smesselsberger at 30 years old, 4-2 in the UFC with wins over Jason Witt and AJ Fletcher. Garrett, what do you see in this one? Is this a mismatch?
Oh, yeah. Jake Matthews has looked phenomenal, especially in his last fight. My God. Against Andre Fiallo, beautiful, beautiful knockout there. He's gotten better at stand-up. His stand-up was kind of like lackluster, and he was mainly, using his grappling to get wins, but it's come a long way. And I think it's going to show out here against Semelsberger. I know Semelsberger is a great striker in his own right. A lot of power in his hands. He showed that against Morono. He even knocked Morono down. No one was able to finish him there. But, Morono is tough enough. He's able to get back in there. And I expect Matthews to kind of do the same. And we saw Semelsberger, his grappling is not even remotely on the same level as Matthews at all. We saw AJ Fletcher dominate him on the mat for some good portions of that fight. Fletcher just unfortunately gassed himself out, and he got the L. But in a close fight, I think Matthews should be able to go back to his bread and butter here because he can, and I'd really rather him do that because I want to bet on him. But yeah, I mean, he should get the job done here. I think he's definitely the more well-rounded fighter. He's got the higher IQ, and he's got the grappling to really make this a horrible fight for Semelsberger. As long as he goes in there, fight smart, I think he gets the job done.
Mismatch would be one way of how I describe this one. Have to agree completely. I mean, dispatching Andre Fiallo in the way that Jake Matthews did, he looked fantastic. He looked picture perfect. One of the biggest complaints I have, though, is a little bit of inconsistency, right? We've seen him dip into negative fight IQ territory, losing these attributes. So that concern aside, I do still feel quite comfortable with Jake Matthews. Matthew Semelsberger knocking out Jason Witt, that shouldn't really get you much merit inside the UFC. That's like a participation trophy on the middle school soccer team. It doesn't mean a whole heck of a lot. And outside of that, right, what has Matt really displayed inside the octagon outside of a lot of power? Not that many tools. So while he has the equalizer of a big finishing strike, I just think the more complete tool here is Jake Matthews. Whether he grinds to a decision, whether he outstrikes and puts away Matt Semelsberger, I do think that Matthews is just the proper pick, and I think that the betting line reflects that.
So Matthews is a complete tool in your eyes.
Massive tool. Huge tool. He's
All
a
right.
big fucking tool.
All right. So just off that, I'm going to take Matthews in this fight just because he's the toolest of the tool, right? One of the biggest tools out there in the welterweight division. Hopefully he's going to be able to mix it up rather than try to go punch for punch, because if he goes punch for punch, that means Smesselsberger is going to have a much better chance of winning this
Say
fight.
it with me, John. Say it with me. Semelsberger. Let's hear it.
Semelsberger.
There it
Smellosberger. All right, Smellsberger. All right, let's move on to the women's strawweight division. We got Cheyenne Velismus versus Corey McKenna. You see, those names are easy to say. Let's keep names. UFC, you need to side fighters with easy names so I could be, much better at my job. Now, Cheyenne Velismus, formerly known as Cheyenne Bays, 27 years old, 2-1 in the UFC, lost her debut and has won 2 in a row now. She's been actually off for about a year, and her wins are against Gloria DePaula and Mallory Martin. Decent wins. On the other side of the cage, you got Corey McKenna, 23 years old, really, really young, 2-1 in the UFC with wins over Miranda Granger and Kay Hansen. Garrett, this fight is an interesting one, isn't it?
Yeah, it's definitely one I definitely don't want to bet on. Let's put it that way. I'd rather literally do anything else than to bet on this fight. I'd rather
hold up. Sorry, Garrett, for cutting you off. Let's play the clip. It's coming in. Our producers has sent it to us. Let's see what Cheyenne has to say about getting back to the basics with her training.
Well, I went to this one coach who's from Kazakhstan, I believe. It spoke like no English. And let me tell you, had all amateurs in the practice. And so when I went there, like my very first day I went there, it's snowing outside, mind you. I get there. I show up like 10, 15 minutes early for the practice. And this coach was like, everyone put your running shoes on. You're going outside. You run 3 miles. I was like, I was like, what?
She's kind of got that Mackenzie Dern type approach where her accent is like American, and then you can tell it's just slowly morphing into something else.
That's called more cultured, Bane. More cultured.
Well, I'm a patriot, I guess.
As far as far as this fight goes, like I said, not gonna bet on it. But as far as breaking it down, McKenna definitely has I think the shortest reach in the UFC, or is that Vanessa Demopoulos? Either one of those two have the shortest reach in the entire roster. Super short. She's stocky. She's good at wrestling, but
her reach is so short that it doesn't even come up on the tail of the tape. Let's just put it that way.
It's 58.5 inches. For those curious, it is 58.5, and yeah, too fucking short.
oh man, yeah. Okay, start with the striking. I think Velismus definitely has the edge in the striking. She's averaging 5.83 strikes per minute. She's landing at a 51% clip. Very, very good. McKenna definitely has the edge in grappling. She's landing 2.06 strikes takedowns per 15 minutes. And I don't know here because she doesn't want to go for grappling. When she knows she has such an edge in grappling, she just doesn't do it. She waits too long. I mean, we saw that in her loss against Reed. She could have easily dominated on the mat if she just decided to do that from the get-go. So you're going in betting on someone that won't fight the easy way, fights dumb, and fights into the strength of her opponent. I don't like betting on someone like that. So if I'm siding here, if I'm betting, I have to side with Cheyenne Velismus.
You know, I think it's the same issue that we've got and what we've covered with Mahashate, which is inexperienced youth, right? Corey McKenna just doesn't know what the path of least resistance could possibly be. And the tiny T-Rex herself is going to be biting off a lot more than she can chew. Cheyenne Velismus is the only person that has finished Roman Dolidze. You know what I mean? And so I think in this bout, she's going to just have a lot more success, right? She's more tenured within the organization, big reach advantage. It does come down to if she can negate the grappling. And as the wise man himself, Garrett Kerman, just mentioned, Corey's not even going to fucking do it. So I'm going to put my house, my life savings, my dog, my father on Cheyenne Velismus.
Yeah, I gotta agree with the Bane, man. He makes some solid points right there.
Not
So
many people finish Roman, but she does consistently.
Shit. All right, we're gonna go with Cheyenne. 57.1% of the people picking on the app. Remember, you guys, this is not offered yet on the app. This will roll out next year in 2023. So if you are interested, go download the All Star app in the descriptions. Let's go to the next. God damn it. Okay, let's go to the next fight. The next fight, we got a middleweight matchup between Cody Brundage and Mikhail. You know.
Say it.
You
say
know.
it. Fucking say it.
Oleg Zagek. All right. we got Brundage at 28 years old. I think he's a solid prospect, 2-1 in the UFC. Lost his debut against Nick Maximoff, who's not even in the UFC anymore, so to say. Short notice for Brundage in this fight. He's had back-to-back finishes over Tresean Gore and Dalcha Lungaibula. Mikhail Oleksiejczuk, 27 years old. Damn, he's only 27 years old. He's been fighting forever with the UFC, it seems like. 5-3 in the UFC with 1 no contest. He's 3-3 in his last 6. Wins over Sam Alvey, Shamil Gamzatov, and Modestas Bukauskas. Fight analyst, who do you like in this one?
Man, I love Michael Oleksiejczuk, man. He's a fire starter, man. He's got some serious power. He's finally in the weight class that he should be at, not 205, 185. He's looked, I know it's Sam Alvey, guys. I get it. But he looked fucking good, and he did exactly what we wanted him to do. Cody Brundage on the flip side, he looked good in his last 2 wins. Tresean Gore knocked him out. Dalcha Lungaibula. But, I mean, are they Michael Oleksiejczuk? No. Absolutely not. Nowhere, no how. He's got to go up against a really powerful southpaw. I know Dustin Jacoby beat him, but I mean, just because your training partner is beating him doesn't mean you can. And I don't expect that to happen here. I think Oleksiejczuk is going to be able to defend the takedowns better at this weight class and absolutely put Cody Brundage's lights out.
I've got no real analysis on this fight. I'm not aware of either gentleman, but I did notice the stat of how Cody Brundage is undefeated as an underdog and with the streak he's been on. That's all I fucking need. Put it all on Cody Brundage.
There you go. You got contrasting points of view. I'm going to go with, man, this is a tough one, but I'm going to go with the underdog. I'm going to go with Brundage. I think Brundage is going to be able to go in there and grind. I think he's going to go in there with a good game plan, not try to go in there and swing and bang with Olenga Legeklek. And we'll see what happens. You know what I mean? Let the fist fly. Now we got a banger coming up at the lightweight division. Drew Dober versus Bobby Green. If you don't know these two, then go fuck yourself. Dober sitting at 34 years old, 11-7 in the UFC with 1 no contest, 2-fight win streak, has won his last 5 out of 7. And the significant wins are over Terrence McKinney, Alex Hernandez, and Nasrat Haqparast. Bobby Green on the other side, 36 years old, 10-8 in the UFC, 1 draw, has lost 3 of his last 5, and he has a win over Nasrat Haqparast, Al Iaquinta, and Lando Fadada. Fight analyst, what you got on this one, boy?
Oh man, I obviously I love this fight. It's gonna be a firefight. It's gonna be back and forth. We know it's going over 2.5 rounds. Let's just start there. We know it's probably gonna go the distance. It's gonna be a razor close fight to the end. You know what I really want to do? I don't know if there's a prop out for it, but if your book has it, I want to bet this fight. Either fighter wins this fight via split decision. This is going to be the sweatiest bet you could possibly make on either one of these two. It's going to be a sweaty split decision. My favorite bets are the over 2.5. The fight goes the distance. They're both extremely tough, extremely durable. And Bobby Green definitely has the volume advantage, but that doesn't do much in the eyes of the judges. They like violence. They like, people just getting punched in the face. They're not so big on the showboating. So that's where Drew Dober comes in, and he's just going to come forward, and he's going to bring the fight, and he's going to throw it down. Granted, he's probably going to be bleeding more than Bobby Green is, but just him coming forward and just throwing heavy hands could possibly get him to win. But it's going to be such a greasy split decision for either one of these guys. I really don't want to take a side. I'd rather take the over and the fight goes the distance. But if I was taking a side, I'd probably side with Drew Dober, because just because of the damage aspect, I think he should maybe eke out a greasy decision.
When you talk about split decisions and the sweat that's involved in it, I'm dripping underneath my turtleneck right now. So I do resonate with those words, Garrett. Now, again, when we think the common opponent between these two off the top of the dome, Islam Makhachev, Drew Dober survived until the 3rd round. Bobby Green undone within 5. Now, obviously, that power, it's been tested against guys like Brad Riddell, against people like Rafael Alves, and Dober's come out on the best sides of it. And here's the big point. He's pressuring. He's pushing forward. And the only thing that can really back him up is that power come back on the other side. King Bobby Green doesn't possess that. And I don't think that this is going to be a favorable opponent for him. Drew Dober's going to get all up in his face, and he's going to come right on his face.
Damn. When you look at this fight, man, both guys have a win over Nasrat Haqparast. And
it's getting worse. Every time you say Nasrat Haqparast, it gets worse.
And both of them have losses against Islam Makhachev. So I'm going to have to go with Bobby Green. I like Bobby Green's volume. I think he's going to be able to float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. And blood is going to pop out of Drew Dober's head. Bruises are going to pop out of Drew Dober's head. It's just going to happen. It's not going to look good throughout the fight. I think it does go to a decision, but I'm going to have to take Bobby Green because he loves that green.
Yeah, look at that line right there, 85%. Listen, he's gonna float like a butterfly, but he's gonna sting like a Nerf bullet. There's gonna be 0 power on the punches bopping off the dome of the hottest man inside the UFC.
The hottest man in the UFC. There you go. Now move on to the next fight. It's in the featherweight division. A sick matchup right here. Julian Erosa, the comeback kid, versus Alex Caceres, the what is it? The Bruce Leroy.
Bruce Leroy.
Bruce Leroy. That's what they like to call him. Erosa sitting at 33 years old, 6-5 in the UFC, 1 no contest. He's on a 3-fight win streak, and he's won his last 5 out of 6 in the UFC. This is his 3rd stint. It's crazy, like how he's on his third stint and he's the best version of himself. Caceres, 34 years old, 14-11. Damn. He was previously ranked. I think he was knocked out by Jonathan Pierce. He's won his last 7 out of 10. This is an interesting matchup. It almost feels like whoever wins it will probably get a shot at a top 15 guy. Garrett, how do you see this matchup?
Man, I feel for Julian Rosa. He was going in thinking he's fighting Alex Caceres, the number 15th, ranked featherweight. Now he's going against unranked Caceres. Sucks for him, but at the end of the day,
Garrett, sorry for cutting you off. We got our producer saying that we have a clip from Julian Rosa's interview with the All-Star. Let me and he's going to be talking about his prediction for the fight. Let's get into that right now.
Yeah, I want to like I said earlier, I just I've always been one of those guys that has really good cardio, and I know Caceres has good cardio too, but I want to just impose my size on him and my ability to keep going and just elongate the fight into the later rounds, and the longer the fight goes, the better it is for me, and I always try to see a TKO or a submission finish in the third round. Once I really kind of just drag somebody a little bit into that deep water, they're more willing to make bigger mistakes. And so I see myself kind of just pressuring Caceres and then eventually getting him to the ground and subbing him out or TKOing him.
My only issue with that interview is that Julian Rosa wasn't closer to the screen. I couldn't hear him that well. I wish that he was just a couple more inches right up to that camera.
That's definitely something I'd rather him just stay at distance, stay at range here, because he's the much better, cleaner striker. He's faster, throws a ton more volume as well. I think he's got the power advantage. I don't want to see him go and grapple, even though he could definitely win there. But that gives Caceres an avenue to win. I don't see Caceres going to be able to stay at range and just outstrike Julian Rosa. That's going to come forward. That's got he's longer and he's got more. I think he's got more tools as well on the feet than Caceres does. So if he just stays at range and look, he outstruck Dawodu. Dawodu's an elite striker, elite championship caliber striker, and he absolutely torched him on the feet. Why not do that against Caceres? I know you want to make him tired in that. Get him tired just by punching him in the face. But other than that goes, I think Rosa is the side here. I think he's gonna look great. He's looked great in his last 3. He impressed the fuck out of me against Dawodu, who I think came into that fight a little different. He came in overweight in that, so maybe not the best version of him. But either way, fantastic fight, fantastic win. I think Rosa shows that he should be in the top 15 and mows over Bruce Leroy.
I think me and Kerman had to clash at one fight on this card, and here it fucking is. Alex Caceres is an individual who finds ways to win. Historically, he's shown that there is levels to the game, both in his losses, but also in the wins, right? The IQ that this kid possesses is quite telling inside the octagon, whether or not you can beat him. And the range, it's hard to get inside on Alex Caceres, especially in his last 5 fights. 4-1 within those fights. He's just showing some new levels. And while Rosa did have a great win over Hakeem Dawodu, I think it's important to note that Dawodu is such a low volume guy. He's not someone that's going to be piling it on like Alex Caceres. I don't think he has the footwork that Caceres is going to bring into this one. I know that he's the slight dog. I know he's being counted out, but I'm going to go with Bruce Leroy in this one.
I'm going to go with Julian Erosa, man. I think
you,
Julian
John.
Erosa. Fuck you. I'm going with Julian because Juicy J, man, you can't go wrong with that name. And he's on fire, man. The guy has found his perfect blend of what he needs to do ahead of fights. If you watch the interviews, if you watch the maturity inside that cage and not worrying about, getting fight of the night every time out, he's becoming a different man. Caceres, you never know what's going to happen with him, man. He's a wildfire. And people love him for it, but then at the same time, it's like, yo, you gotta switch it up to win fights, man. You got to. Now, next fight, flyweight division. Amir Albazi, who's ranked number 8 in the flyweight division, versus Alessandro Costa. Costa coming in on short notice. Actually, Alex Perez was the original opponent. He pulls out. Brendan Royval, he also pulls out. He was the next opponent pulled in. It's like, man, this guy cannot find a top contender fight. So he ends up fighting Costa. Abazi, 29 years old, 3-0 in the UFC. Costa, 26 years old, coming in in his UFC debut against a ranked opponent. You see that now a lot more than you did in the past. He has a Contender Series win. This is short notice. Garrett, who do you like in this one? It's almost obvious, right?
Yeah, I mean, you have to go Albazi here, but I think it's going to be a good fight. I'm actually looking forward to this fight more than other people are, because I've watched tape on Costa. I've watched it pre-Contender Series. I was high on him coming into his Contender Series fight. I bet on him there, cashed him out. He's a great jiu-jitsu practitioner, elite BJJ black belt, and Albazi wants to take it there. And he's also elite jiu-jitsu practitioner in his own right. But we're going to see a ton of great scrambles here, and it's going to be a lot of fun, extremely high pace. But ultimately, I think Albazi is going to be just way too much of a step up in competition for Costa here. I mean, you can't go in there and beat someone of Albazi's caliber on such massive short notice. I think, and being at Andres Luna's his last win. No, man. I mean, Albazi definitely gets the win here. Probably finishes him inside 2 rounds, but it's gonna be fun. A fun 7 minutes or so.
I'm expecting fireworks for sure. Once again, these guys are very well below my height requirements, so I'll make this one short and snappy. But Amir Albazi is a guy who almost deserves the same hype that a Muhammad Makaev is getting. Maybe that's an exaggeration, maybe it's hyperbolic to say, but he's such a talented young individual, and the submissions, I mean, they come like hotcakes from this character, and that's kind of what I see in this fight, right? Garrett just said within 2 rounds, I think Albazi snatches some sort of limb, snatches the neck. I just think that he gets the tap. Alessandro Costa, great fighter, but it's just not going to be good enough here against Albazi.
I just hope that Albazi doesn't go in there and underestimate Costa, but I don't think he will. I think I'm going to take Albazi. He's just more proven. He's a guy that goes out there and gets the job done, and that's what he's most focused on. He's not about being flashy, so I'm going to take Albazi in that one. Now, moving on to the co-main event, man, a lightweight contenders bout between Arman Tsarukyan versus Damir Ismagulov. You see, I could get those.
I'm surprised that you got that.
Those are good. Those are good. Now, you see, you got Arman. He's sitting at number 9, 26 years old, 5-2 in the UFC. He got wins over OAM, Joel Alvarez, and Christos Yagos, right? He's got to finish over both those guys, Alvarez and Yagos. Ismagulov, 31 years old, a little bit older, 5-0, undefeated in the UFC. Got wins over Moises, Alvarez, and Garam. Now, when you look at this fight, man, this is an interesting fight because both these guys have just every skill, high level. Garrett, what do you see in this one?
Man, it's going to be a good one. This is my fight of the night. I think everybody's fight of the night, honestly. It could be even a main event. Tsarukyan, he didn't look great against Gamrot, but he arguably won.
Oh, sorry. We got our producers are coming in again, Garrett. Sorry for cutting you off, man. But we do have a clip from the interview earlier this year that we had with Arman talking about this fight and actually talking about his last fight and how it changed him heading into this one. Let's watch this clip.
I got a lot of experience from this fight, 5 rounds, and I understood I gotta listen my corners, don't do what I want, Sometimes, corners can see better than me, They told me don't wrestle, just strike him and that's it. And but I don't know. I got a lot of good experience. I think that fight gave me a lot of good things for next fights, and now more motivation for training. And when you lost last fight, you want to win. That's why I train very hard now, and I don't want to have close fight. Yeah, but I think now I won that fight. Last fight I won, but anyway, I gotta win 100%, not 60-70%. I don't want to give any rounds.
That's a young JHK in that clip. Boy, looking youthful in that one.
Why, I look unyouthful in this one? That was only a couple of months ago, man. That's like a month ago. What's going on? Garrett, what you got for us?
Oh man, as far as this fight goes, I really like Saruki in this one. I really do. He lost a very close fight against a contender in Gamrot. Damir Ismagulov, he's looked great too. There's no fault there, but he's yet to be tested against the level of Arman Saruki. And I know he beat Kuta Taladze and he beat Giago Moises, but I don't think those guys are on the level of Saruki, especially in the terms of the grappling. I know he's done well. He went, he defended 6 or 7 takedowns against Kutaladze, but it's not, I just don't see him going to be able to defend 7 takedowns against Arman Saruki. And I can't fathom that. Yes, Gamrot did well, but he's also a great grappler in his own right. But everybody before that, all his other wins, he absolutely dominated them on the mat. And I kind of expect that more of the same here. And then I don't know if you guys noticed, but Ismagulov has this weird twitch that he does when he's at range trying to strike. But I don't know if that's going to play into his strength here when he's trying to defend takedowns, if he's mid-twitch and then he's having to defend a takedown. So I don't know, man. I'm taking Arman Saruki in here. I think he gets the job done. Shows that he's still an elite fighter, and he should be fighting for the title soon.
I also think that having Tourette's is a big disadvantage as a UFC fighter. It just disadvantages you, in every single outing. But within this matchup, I think that we're seeing a very interesting match made between Arman Tsarukyan, who many believe beat Mateusz Gamrot, and Damir Ismagulov, who a lot of people didn't think beat Garam Kututaladze. Maybe I'm mispronouncing that. I'm dipping into my JHK. But, I do believe that Tsarukyan is cut from the same cloth as these champions, these top contenders. He's displayed that skill set on numerous occasions. I had a $5 parlay. It was 5 to 900, 9 legs. I nailed every single one of them, but I picked Yoel Alvarez to upset Tsarukyan, and my hopes and dreams were fucking crushed. So I'm never doing that again. We're on Team Arman here, and I think he's going to make it now look relatively easy, but I do believe that the king of violence is going to be, at the very least, putting it on Damir Ismagulov.
Yeah, this is an interesting fight, man. I'm going to go with Arman as well. These guys have actually trained in the past together. Nothing too serious, but they have been around each other. They probably scoped each other out. They probably knew each other, that they were going to fight each other. And they were probably sneaking around and filming each other, whatnot. But it doesn't matter. I'm taking Tsarukyan in this fight. Now,
what's crazy, though? How Tsarukyan was almost a minus 300 favorite over Mateusz Gamrot, and now he's only minus 170, minus 180 over Damir Ismagulov. I think that's kind of crazy. I mean, in a fight that it was razor close, and the bookmakers think that Damir Ismagulov is basically better than Gamrot. I don't know about all that.
All right, let's move on to the main event, a middleweight clash. 2 contenders, Sean Strickland and Jared Cannonier. Strickland sits at number 7, 31 years old, 12-4 in the UFC. He got wins over Hermansson, Hall, and Brendan Allen. Jared Cannonier, number 3 in the division, 38 years old, 8-6 in the UFC with significant wins over Brunson, Gastelum, and Hermansson. Garrett, what do you see in this one?
I really want to know what Sean Strickland's been doing after getting knocked the fuck out by Alex Pereira, because he's only coming back 3 months later against another heavy-handed hitter in Jared Cannonier. And I know how Sean Strickland is. All he does is spar. I don't think he does anything but spar in his free time. So he's always getting hit in the head. And I don't think getting hit by Jared Cannonier is really going to help him here. It really boils down to if his chin is intact. If the damage was done and then he's fine and he's gotten over it, then he probably should win this fight via decision just by jabbing for 25 minutes like he did, against Jack Hermansson. But I feel like Jared's going to put it on him. The calf kicks going to hurt him. And then after that, it's just going to be a right hand from hell. And he's going to knock his lights out because it's too early to come back from the shellacking that he did. And plus, this man, like I said, probably in the next day, he was in the gym sparring. So this guy is a loose cannon, and I'm expecting him to get knocked the fuck out again.
I've got a lot of love for Sean Strickland, but Garrett is almost completely right. You come back too soon. You stick in those big, heavy-handed sparring realms, because when he spars, he does go fucking hard. I mean, this guy does not do technique sparring or just flowing. He goes heavy-handed every single round, every single moment of the round. Now, the thing with the calf kicks, right, that plays perfectly into Cannonier's wheelhouse, because Strickland's stance, the way that he boxes, that lead leg's right there to get chewed up. And again, you give Jared Cannonier 25 minutes to at least land one big right hand, one stun. When he unleashes that finishing instinct, he typically gets it done. And over the course of 5 rounds, I believe that he'll land. Now, again, I said that with Adesanya. Cannonier's got 25 minutes to get it done. He didn't. And he looked kind of like a fish out of water. So if Strickland is fully healed, if he can just pump that jab out, move around, and kind of befuddle Cannonier, I could see a Sean Strickland cruising to a decision. But because there is such a tight clash of game plan and IQ necessary, I think that's reflected in the odds. This is close. You know what I mean? This is plus 105, minus 115 right on the comeback. So I have a hard time with this one, but what comes to my head and what my heart can agree with is Jared Cannonier by stoppage. I like Sean Strickland a ton. He's a very entertaining individual, but like Garrett mentioned, 3 months, it's too soon. Look at Tai Tuivasa. Ask him how that went. So I do believe Strickland will fall and the Killer Gorilla will notch another KO.
I have to agree with you guys on that. You know, I mean, I feel like Jared Cannonier is just more skilled all around. And Sean is just open to attacks, man. If he just only spars, you know what I mean? Like, people have told you, fighters have told you, coaches have told you, sparring is probably the last thing you want to do too much, right? And skill development, where is he? Is he skill developing? Is he doing that? Or is he just going around gyms and sparring and knocking people out for no reason? I'm going to have to take Cannonier in this one. I think he's going to be able to mix up his attacks much better. And yeah, man, it's just going to be a much better fight for Cannonier in the main event. I don't think it goes to the decision either. Now we are done with the breakdown of the card. Now we're going to go into our next segment, the best bet segment. We're going to be back in a second with a little break. Oh shit. All right, here we go. Now, Garrett, last week, man, UFC 282, I believe, in Las Vegas. You had a couple bets. Eric Silva winning at minus 120. Jazier Rosenstrike winning at minus 170, and Curtis and Buckley over the 1.5 rounds at minus 170. Take us through those bets and why you believe that those would have hit. And you hit two of the 3.
Well, you know, with Eric Silva, he looked okay at times, but, you know, getting out grappled by TJ Brown wasn't what I thought he would be able to do. You know, I thought he was going to be able to put up a Danny Chavez performance in there and be able to actually keep him down and not get out grappled, but too big of a step up, way too soon. But it's not a guy that I'm going to fade next time out. I think he's going to get somebody more his skill set, someone that he could possibly get a win against, hopefully. And then we'll see what he's made of. But, you know, TJ Brown, phenomenal performance. Phenomenal. Probably arguably the best of his career, especially when he really needed it the most, when this was probably going to be the time he was going to get cut if he didn't win. But, yeah, it looked good there, and I'm glad he got the dub. As far as Rosenstrike, it's exactly what I expected to happen. You know, him getting an early knockout. As long as he came forward, that knockout was inevitable. The only times he doesn't get knockouts when he lets his opponents dictate the pace, come forward, and you know, just outstrike him, which, you know, has happened in the past. This fight, picture perfect, comes forward, lands a nice, beautiful jab, rocks him, and then just follows it up with nasty, heavy hands. Gets him out of there in like 20 seconds. I mean, that was no sweat off my back. It was beautiful. Those are the best moments when you're betting, that your fight comes to fruition within, you know, a couple moments. It's just a kiss from the gods. You finally get a good one. And yeah, the Buckley and Curtis fight definitely didn't go the way I expected. Curtis was absolutely just dominating him. I mean, his striking was beautiful. His defense was on point. He looked great out there. Buckley had a ton of problems, with the counters of Curtis and being able to land. He was jumping in and out. He wasn't really landing anything. He was landing on the arms. And eventually got out of there. And I was luckily, it just hit the over 1.5 rounds when he got knocked out. So yeah, I mean, great performance by Curtis. The odds makers just stay killing Curtis, stay giving him at dog money. Whoever's been just betting him at dog money has been absolutely cashing out. This man's been a dog machine. He's been the dog, I think, in all of his fights except for one. I think it was the fight against the Brazilian hunter, black belt hunter. I forgot his name, Rodolfo Vieira, right? I think that's the only fight that he was the favorite. But everything else, he's been a dog. This man's been cashing for bettors. He's one of the most profitable fighters to come into the UFC with only 5-6 fights. He's a cash machine. It's hard to really bet against him, especially when he's a dog. Unfortunately, I didn't bet on that side, but maybe next time if I see him at dog price, I gotta take him. I gotta take a shot.
Any bets you make outside of that cashed in?
I gotta go back to my bets. Actually, I can't remember on the top of my head, but unfortunately, we were gonna cash the Magomed. I personally thought we were gonna cash Magomed Ankalaev by decision at plus 240. I mean, am I wrong to think he won 1, 4, and 5? What did you have him winning that fight?
Yeah, I think so. I think he won that fight.
I mean, I bet him straight when he was a little bit better on the line, right? And then I bet him at plus 240. That was I by decision. I thought it was a great call there, but unfortunately, it was not a great call. Another bad call. I gotta give out my bad picks, all right, because I can't just give out my good picks. I had a terrible pick on Bryce Mitchell. I don't know what I was thinking, taking him over Ilya Topuria. I guess maybe I like I said, I thought he wasn't battle tested in the grappling realm. He hasn't really faced a good enough grappler or wrestler. Well, fuck me, because that dude is dynamite. He's good everywhere. And he's someone I will never fade again. It's either I pass on the fight or I bet on him. I'm never fading him against anybody. I really don't care who he's going against. It's either fade or pass. I'm sorry, bet or pass. No fade. No fade necessary. I was so close. I was this close to cashing in on Billy Q. Wins in round 3 at plus 1,000. I mean, he was literally, 28 seconds away. And I feel like he was going to get that finish in that 3rd round. But it exactly happened. Hernandez faded after 7 minutes. You fade after 7 minutes at 155. You don't come down to 145 and expect to not fade at the same round mark. I think he faded maybe a little bit before that. But your cardio woes don't get better going down a weight class. That's exactly what I expected to happen. Billy Q looked phenomenal there. As far as that, I think those are kind of like my Santiago Ponzinibbio and his comeback win. Oh, that was beautiful. That was a great comeback knockout, considering down 2-0, presumably, who knows with the judges, right? And then getting rocked in that last round. Fought through that adversity and then knocked Morono out. That was picture perfect. And what a great end to a great fight. It cashed me a little bit of money too. So good for me.
All right, everybody, look out for the best bets article on the All-Star. Go download that, and a little short word from our sponsors, and we'll be back with an interview with an unknown member of the Nevada State Athletic Commission. Stay tuned for that one. Do you love breakdowns? Do you need stats? Do you crave insight? Download the All-Star app. UFC, Bellator, PFL 1 Championship, and more. Ad-free, fully customizable. Download the best app in the business. Link in description. Welcome back, everybody. I am JHK, and I am joined along with Garrett Kerman, and we are interviewing an unknown member of the Nevada State Athletic Commission. Would you like to have your identity known, sir? You are muted, sir. You are muted.
Silly me. My kids always tell me, Dad, you don't know anything about technology. And, I have to agree with them. Sorry about that, guys. My name is Dennis Texas. I serve as one of the executive correspondents for the Nevada State Athletic Commission. I formerly was with the New York State Athletic Commission for several years, and I managed a GameStop for a couple years before that. Great to be here.
Thank you so much for joining us. We have some serious issues with judging. It sucks balls. We had 3 decisions over the weekend. Terrible. A lot of hate, a lot of backlash. How do you defend the judging in MMA right now?
Listen, I think that one thing that we need to get straight right away is we hear you guys. We understand the sentiment. It gets to our ears. But the reality is, gang, these are certified officials. They've gone through our courses state by state. They've done their due diligence. I like to challenge all of these people sitting on their couches, right? You think you could do a better job? Go take a course. Get out and about and go get certified and then prove it. There's so many that are armchair quarterbacks, and a lot of the criticism is, in my mind, negated, right? Put your money where your mouth is. Go get certified and start judging. Do it better than we do it.
What do you say for the people that say that the judges are actually the armchair quarterbacks and the people sitting at home are the actual real judges, the ones that do the judging online on Twitter?
Yeah. John, I like you so far. That's bullshit. We both know that's bullshit. Come on. The judges cage side, those are the armchair quarterbacks? No, that's ludicrous. That's bananas. But yeah.
See, no words. You have nothing to say. Now let's just move on to the next topic, which is these rules. It seems like there's new rules or there's no rules. Are there rules to this judging system that you guys have in this athletic commission?
There are rules. It's a page and a half. Anyone that has a 3rd grade reading ability can go educate themselves. I will say we did fuck up a little bit before this event. UFC 282, during our meeting in November, we did agree on several rules, and we didn't send that out via the press release. I do apologize for that, and I'd like to take a couple minutes now just to really hammer in the brass tacks of what we've added to the the Nevada State Athletic Commission bylines. First and foremost, bald fighters are automatically deducted a point. We take a point away. If you don't have hair, we don't care. We take a point away, and that's just something that we've got to live by. One of the other rules, and this was brought to us by, I would say, probably one of the best media personalities on the planet. We have a height requirement now. So if you are, in fact, below 5'7", you also get deducted a point. We do have to take a point away. It's just kind of the rules that we abide by these days. And so now you think about this. If you're a bald flyweight, you're down 2 points. You better get a finish, right? And that's just kind of by virtue of trying to catalyze some excitement, in these fights. A lot of our judges, they come back to the commish and they go, man, that was a boring 8 hours that I'm never going to fucking get back. And so we're trying to, really motivate and stimulate some activity inside these fights, which as fans, isn't that something you would want?
Douglas Crosby, he's the man, the myth, the legend, the man in the hot seat right now. Many people are considering him as the John Gotti of MMA. Yeah. Is he untouchable?
Listen, Dougie C's gotten a lot of hate this weekend. And while that's tough, and once again, I want to reiterate, we hear all of it. It comes to our ears. I want to mention to you all that Doug's a great guy. I think that the charity work that he does every Sunday, the amount of money that he's donated to different communities across the United States. This guy's at a soup kitchen Tuesday to Thursday, feeding the homeless. All right. Is that a guy that you think can't judge fights? Really? Let's take a back seat on the criticism and hate on Dougie C. And let's recognize the man behind the score sheet and who he is, right? A stand-up individual that is probably doing more than any of these fucks back home.
What the hell does working in a soup kitchen have to do with judging a fight properly, Mr. What was your name again? What was your name again?
Dennis Texas.
Dennis Texas. Someone needs to fact check this guy. You know what I mean? Like, we need to fact check him, see his credentials, because I can't believe what you're saying right now.
Between the years of 2012 and 2018, I was an integral role in their come up in the state of New York before I began judging. I've judged over 10,000 fights.
Nobody cares. Douglas Crosby, let's go back to him. He seems like he's one of your dear friends. You probably had him over
Yep.
for 4th of July barbecues and Christmas dinners.
Yeah.
And
Dougie's
and
Dougie's the godfather to my children. He really has been a critical role in raising my own household, you know. And so when I hear all of this criticism about Doug, it touches me in a pretty negative place. And I have to reiterate, Crosby is a guy who, if you fall down on the sidewalk, Douglas Crosby will help you back up. You know what I mean? You forget to take your kid home from school, Douglas Crosby's already there picking up your child. He's a stand-up individual. And a lot of this judging controversy, I think, we forget the guy behind the scorecard. And that's equally as important as whatever result he writes down on it.
is Douglas Cosby in any way or form related to Bill Cosby?
He's
There's
a
a rumor
distant
out there.
cousin. He is a distant cousin. One of the main problems we have with the OJ versus the People Netflix docuseries, I give it a 9 out of 10. That's really up to your own discretion. I think that they should have included Douglas Crosby's role in it because you know how the Kardashians were there as children. Douglas was there as well. Douglas was right there side by side with Kim, Chris, Scott, Caitlyn, the other Kardashians. So a distant cousin.
Okay. Now, the other guy that's probably in a hotter seat than Doug Cosby is James Krause. What's going on with him?
James, man, we actually think this is a perfect platform to announce. James Krause is being added to the Nevada State Athletic Commission as both the judge and a supervisor. I think that we kind of missed out on picking up that prospect in the early draft, but recent events have shown that we need this guy more than we don't. So as early as maybe February 2023, you're going to start seeing James Krause ringside judging fights. He's got as much integrity as I do.
So it's basically like when the FBI busts a hacker, they end up not putting them in prison. Rather, they would just hire them to hack their own system. So is that what you guys, is this the situation right now?
Everyone's got their own perspective. You know, everyone's got their own perspective. It's like a mathematic proof. There's multiple ways to answer it, and neither one is wrong. Neither one is maybe particularly right. But anyway, you cut that cake, we will have Mr. Krause cage side, you know, just right in the trenches, making sure that this sport is as sound and structural as possible.
Thank you.
Thank
sir,
you, guys.
for
It's been a
joining
pleasure.
for joining us on the show, and everybody that's watching. Leave a comment, leave a prediction, hit that subscribe, hit that like, hit that share, and we'll be back with another phenomenal guest to end the show. We'll be back with the show early next year. Thank you for joining us, and